Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Michelle's vlog. And we started this week off with a bench press, and she got 155 on her bench. Keeping in mind that Michelle only close grip benches due to a previous surgery and some scar tissue being in her shoulders. Uh, Now, one of the things that I've got her working on is learning to get set up tighter because if you guys noticed, those feet came up, right? Her feet kind of lifted off the floor a little bit once the bar came down and hit her chest, and it's because she's used to getting it unracked, and I'm having to have her learn to bench without someone helping her unrack because it's a good idea to learn that skill, and she didn't always have someone there to spot her. So we are working on her learning to get tighter as she sets that up, and we got practice on speed day. So after that, we do floor pressing. I feel like right now for her, the floor press brings a lot to the table. Brings a whole lot to the table. It's what she needs to be doing, especially if you look at where her weak points are in the bench press. So we are doing the floor press. And then we spend quite a bit of time on upper back and triceps, which at the moment she's doing neutral grip pull-ups. Again, the grip width on this is relative to her shoulder. She can't do the wider grip pull-ups, but she's good at doing pull-ups. We can crank out quite a few. Again, for a woman being able to do multiple pull-ups, nobody can hate on that. So up next, then we do one-arm dumbbell rows. And I would just have her do, mostly rowing, except she really does like pull-ups, so I allow her to continue to do them. She's good at them, likes doing them. So I don't want to take those out of her routine, so everything else for our back beyond that is always going to tend to be rowing. For this week, though, we're having a bit more of a tricep focus, although the coming week I may need to work on that a little bit and have her just mostly do band stuff for triceps as we continue to build her tendons up. We've got to continue to build them up. So after the one-arm dumbbell rows, we do dumbbell tricep extensions, and then she does band press downs. And in this case, again, we don't try to go crazy far back. I don't think it's necessary at this point. The data doesn't really support that as being that viable. We know the shoulder position moving doesn't matter as much as we once thought it did, at least based upon all the data I've seen. Plus, again, we're worried about bench press strength. Right, worried about bench press strength. And this sort will do a lot more for it, rather than worried about getting a stretch behind the head. Because again, we're still getting that stretch position on the long head, which we do need on the max, but putting a heavy focus on the medial and lateral head. Not that I think that we can really separate them that much. Then of course she does her band press downs, which is something we're going to want to continue to do a lot of. We're going to want to do a lot of those. And then after that, we of course have her max effort lower day. And on max effort lower this week, we did light bands, which is, approximately 30 pounds of bands. She did a 225, then she got 235, which we were happy with. She's getting good and deep on these. We did have some potential depth issues before, having her focus on reaching depth. All right, and if you guys notice, look at kind of where she sticks a little bit, even with the bands kicking in. This is one reason I've had her start adding in good mornings. She said that her knee was hurting a little bit on deadlifts, so we called the sumo at 265. We know that she's capable of more than that right now on the sumo based upon some other variations we've done. But as you guys can see, that wasn't a max. She's like, my knee's kind of hurt. I called it there, and I think that's fine. Perfectly reasonable. We can't do, on these training max days, we can't come in and always do a max all the time. Right? We've got to learn to keep a little bit in reserve. And if something hurts, then, quite a bit in reserve. Afterwards, she does safety bar good mornings. Again, working her back quite a bit more, and while still getting a hip hinge. And on these, we can get away with that a little more because we have access to the reverse hyper and everything. I don't always have to make the good morning always focus on the hip hinge itself as much. That's why we can get away with the safety bar more. Not that the safety bar doesn't work these things, it just puts a slight more emphasis on the back. And she needs to be able to leverage through those weak links. Although over time I will have her use other bars on these, and I know she's changing gyms coming up here. All right, we're about to change gyms again. So that being said, we'll have access to different equipment. After the good mornings, we're focusing on glute ham raises and reverse hypers. Now, some people may be asking, hey, what's going on with that? What happened to her leg presses? I don't think that we need them. She's sled dragging 5 or 6 days a week right now. We're getting speed squats and stuff in. Quite frankly, I just don't think that it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary for us to do that. So since it's not necessary, not worried about it, we don't do it. So we do glute ham raises, and then we do reverse hypers, which you guys know I love these. Again, it's been quite a few vlogs in a row where it's like, man, all these people finish up at glute ham raises or reverse hypers. Yep. Yes, they do. And I'm happy with that. I like that. That's what I want to see, because they have access to it. And if we have access to these devices, we should be using them most of the year, right? We should be putting a focus on them, because these devices will never make you weaker, right? They'll never make you weaker. Only positives. It's just that we could run into an issue if we're doing a lot of other supplemental work of only being able to handle so much workload. All right, after that, we have dynamic effort bench press day, which for her is pretty much the empty bar and chains at the moment, unless I choose to have her start doing the heavier speed work like you guys see me do, right? And if we do that, then of course she'll have a little more weight on the bar. I'm going to have a little more weight on the bar in that case, which we may go over and start doing in the near future. And eventually we're going to work on rotating bands and chains for her. We're going to work on doing that. But that'll probably be once she changes gyms, she gets used to the setups, knows how to set everything up. Have her do more floor pressing at this point. All right, we do some additional floor pressing here. Mainly just because she needs the workload. And every week I may not do that. We might not do the floor press and supplemental pressing like this on every single training week. For the second day, it may not always be necessary, depending on what loading we're doing on the speed bench. So it's speed bench with chains, floor press, pull-ups, one-arm dumbbell rows. And I didn't put a lot of her tricep work into the second workout on here because this video is going to run over a little bit long. But we do our pull-ups, neutral grip pull-ups. And she does dumbbell rows, which again, for anyone wondering about bicep work, we don't need any. Look how much her pulling volume is. It's just simply not necessary. All right, we don't want to get overuse injuries trying to chase, a tiny increase in bicep size. And it's been my experience that often is the case. In my mixed grip pullers, I don't want them having bicep tendon fatigue or inflammation. Right? I still want us to ever get to a heavy deadlift day and have that situation occur. It is simply not worth the risk. It's not worth the risk. My opinion as a coach, for those curious about this. And a lot of my more mature lifters, I would really rather they not do any supine work at all. I would rather their pull-ups be neutral or overhand grip also. Again, says me. All right. Up next, dynamic effort lower day. She is getting more explosive on these speed squats. She's getting more explosive on them, although I'm a little worried that box is something I need to mention to her, and she'll see in the vlog. That box is a hair high. I'd like to see that box lower. We want to get below parallel on it. Speed pulls, though, went good. I think they went good this week. Nice and fast on everything. Of course, we're doing sumo at this point in the wave. Then she finishes up with her normal stuff. We do good mornings. In this case, doing them with the safety bar. All right. knocking out our sets of 10 with the safety bar. We do glute ham raises. We do reverse hypers. And then she does some hanging leg raises. Yeah, I know this looks a lot like more or less what a lot of my lower days look like, doesn't it? Yeah. Yes, it does, absolutely. So, there we are, more glute ham raises, working the hamstrings. And keep in mind, the glute ham raise works the entire posterior chain. It's just not a particularly great glute exercise, which is funny because it's called a glute ham raise. It's not a particularly great glute exercise. It does work, though. I don't think it works as well as squats, pulls from the floor, reverse hypers, any of that. And then we finish up with some hanging leg raises. And there we have them. We haven't been getting this always and every week lately, but she has been doing them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.